just when it seems Joseph was about to have no hope, Reuben speaks up. And who is Reuben?
Like the youngest brother? No.
No,
No, he
so
was
Reuben, remember, is Jacob's firstborn. He's
right.
the oldest brother. In their family, according to their traditions, he would have been the one that was expected to lead his younger brothers. And he should have been the voice of reason with the common sense in this situation. And for the first time in this conversation, he's the only one that says, let's not take his life. But what's crazy is that sometimes, even in situations like this, Yesenia was saying about an example, you're in a situation where you hear something that's going on, and sometimes doing the right thing it starts with opening your mouth, with speaking up. And I know I have been in rooms where people have been saying things that they shouldn't. Maybe they were talking about someone, or maybe they were treating someone unfairly and they were just humiliating them in public. And it's so much easier to stay quiet. I remember one time, a long time ago, Alan took the boys and me on the first metro ride to the Staples Center to go watch the Golden State Warrior game. And when we were in the metro, there was an older couple, probably Mami Connie's age, in their late 80s. It was a husband and wife. And this man comes in and he starts bullying everyone in the train. And mind you, I'm not one that gets on metros or buses or subways or none of that. So I got my kids and I was, oh my gosh. And this guy starts pushing the old man, and no one is saying absolutely nothing to defend him. And the old lady is crying, and he knocks the old lady down to the ground, and the old man is, don't hurt my wife, kind of thing. And I'll be the first to admit that Alan was getting involved, and Alan was, hey, got in the guy's face, and I was, babe, just stay out of it. Because I was afraid, what if he has a gun? What if he has a knife? What if something? And I was letting my fear stand in the way of Alan defending these poor people. And Alan was no, and the guy swung at Alan, punched Alan in the face, and Alan and him kind of tussled it out, but he got out of the subway. And as soon as he got out, everybody was, good job for speaking up, for doing anything.
Yeah,
But
but
in
none
my
of it
mind,
helped me. Yeah.
exactly. I'm all in my mind. I'm all, bro, why didn't you help? It would have been better if it would have been more than one person speaking up, but everyone else stayed quiet because it was easier, because speaking up isn't always comfortable. But sometimes that's exactly what God calls us to do. It says that Reuben heard it. He was listening just like everyone else in this bus. They heard it. They saw this guy hurting these old people. We were all watching and hearing the same thing, but the difference is that Reuben, he wasn't willing to go that far. He didn't step in. And it just says that later on that Reuben tells his brothers, we're not going to shed his blood, okay? We're just going to throw him into this pit in the wilderness, but we're not going to lay a hand on him. So he really is just not fixing the situation, but he's providing another way. He's giving them another option. So at first it sounds a good idea, because he's trying to stop them from killing Joseph. Compared to murder, this is much better. But I don't know. If that was my brother, I would have been like, absolutely not. That's our brother. Nobody is touching him. But instead, again, he offers them another plan. And then it goes on and it says that his whole planning of making this other plan was that so that he can go back and then bring them back to Jacob. So that's why he spoke up. Reuben didn't intend for Joseph to die. He was gonna come back, rescue Joseph, and then take him back home to his father. But anyways, the Bible doesn't really tell us what was going on in Reuben's mind. Maybe he felt outnumbered because his brothers are all decided. They were decided that they were gonna kill this kid. Maybe he thought that they were gonna overpower him. Maybe, I don't know. Me in that situation, I was, what if he has a gun? What if he has a knife? What if this? What if that? You always are thinking of the what if, but the truth at the end of the day is that we really don't know. But what we do know is that Reuben wanted to save Joseph. And then Genesis 37:20.
So it says, so it came to pass when Joseph had come to his brothers that they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the tunic of many colors that was on him.
That is so heartbreaking to read because it says that Joseph came to
His brothers.
bro, that made me so emotional when I read that because when you think about that, I don't know, for me, it says Joseph came to his brothers, not to his enemies, not to strangers, to his brothers. And the very people that should have received him, again, if I were to see my brothers, I'd be excited to see them, but these are the same people waiting to hurt him and to do evil to him. I can't imagine this 17-year-old kid finally making his way to where his brothers are. Maybe, I don't know, he's a kid, so he's probably smiling or he's calling out to them, there you guys are, or whatever. But he was expecting to come to his family while his brothers were just waiting to do violence to him. They were waiting to do evil to him. And then it says that they stripped Joseph of his robe and they didn't just grab him. They didn't just sangolotearlo or anything. No, they violently received him and they stripped him. What does that remind you of?
Of like when Jesus was taken and everything was taken from him and he was beat and kind of that's what it reminds me of a bit of when Jesus was getting ready to be crucified.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we can blame others for things that we see, but ultimately the real battle is in our hearts. And again, it's not about the robe, it's about the brother's heart condition. It's just so sad because no
Mhm.
matter how you put it, it doesn't fix what's happening. The damage is being done. The trauma is being caused. What they're doing to this kid is something so horrible. They take his robes, but what good does that do if their heart is still rotten? And I think that that's the real problem.